Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 4 of What If Naruto Became the Greatest Puppeteer. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, stay in tune for What If Naruto Was a Godly Mage on this channel, and I'm going to be posting a brand new episode of What If Naruto unlock a strange ability over an Anime King too. So stay tuned for that guys, and I hope you guys do enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what is we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, everything was going great, as everything was set up at the Hidden Wave, and everything was being transferred over to him. But the work was too much, and also, he needs someone that was, well, depth in politics, someone from a clan. So he ended up tricking Hinata into helping him, telling her that this is the Hokage is doing, making him try, well, learn how to become Hokage one day, as she was glad to help. So everything was going back great there once again, as Naruto started tinkering with his puppets once again to create a new one. As things were going along great, as he was called to join the Chunin exams, all of them end up signing the paper, as Naruto also saw a red head. A red head from the hidden sand that he didn't know why, but he found all three of them interesting, especially the one with the puppet, as the hidden sand will know that they're not the only people that has puppeteered. So with that, the time passed, as Naruto arrived and the group made their way towards the Chunin exams, where they saw all the other competitors, as Naruto showed how manipulating he was when it came for the time of the first test, as Naruto made plenty other people fall out of the test just by causing some fake accusation towards Ibiki. As Ibiki noticed what Naruto was doing, he was surprised. This kid was really manipulated. If it was up to him, he would bring this kid to the IT department for him to join, because him planting doubts in people's head without really doing anything too difficult was incredible for someone his age. As Uncle came to the room, she was the one he designed Remia after, so he remembered her, as he also saw the string seal on her neck. They made their way towards train car 44 as Uncle threw the kunai, slicking his cheek as she licked his blood. Naruto gave her a vial and told her she needed to take that. You shouldn't just go around licking people's blood. Well, his blood is, well, incredibly poisoned. Seeing that, he always poisoned himself and tried some new poison, because he healed fast. But for other people, it was deadly, as the group made their way into the forest until they were blown away. It was then that the sound team came over to him, as they started to battle him. Naruto didn't face them up one-on-one, as he hid in the bushes. He pulled out his new puppet after they destroyed Remia, as his new puppet was quite deadly. It fired a thick senbon and jammed right into King's neck, killing her instantly. As the thing swallowed Dosu, it had a huge compartment in his back where Dosu was. The moment he entered, he died, because there was some sick toxins inside. Zaku exploded the area where Dosu was. He didn't care about either of them. That was his mission, and it's not like he liked these people. The people of the zone are just, well, comradeship between them are very little. But Zaku was showing his impressive speed and strength over Naruto, after all, Naruto never trained in taijutsu, as he knocked Naruto down, but Naruto simply smirked, as a bug landed on Zaku's shoulder, as Naruto told Zaku that he liked their Burmese. Suddenly, the bug exploded, a wooden bug, blowing Zaku's head off. Naruto realized that he's completely defenseless out here, without his puppet, as he looked over at Kin's dead body. It would be a waste to just leave her like that, as it just seemed interesting, controlling a person. Naruto made his way back towards where Sasuke was, as he found Sasuke on the ground. Having full jutsu knowledge just a bit, Naruto went through a seal, as he placed over the curse mark to counter the effects, well, not to take it off, but just to block it off for now. As Naruto saw that Sakura, her neck had been snapped. As he didn't know who killed her, but her neck had been snapped, she was dead. And he didn't know what to do. A part of him just didn't really care. As he knew that they would be failing the exam now, because if they didn't have their 3 teammates, they would be failing. Sasuke then came too, as Sasuke asked Naruto what is wrong with her. Naruto didn't know why, but his mouth betrayed him and told Sasuke that she was fine. As he told Sasuke that he was the one that injected her in the neck. The same thing that Haku did to Zabuza. As he picked her up and said, let's go. As Naruto didn't know why his mouth slipped, he had to do something though. He already carried on the lie. As him and Sasuke headed off. So yeah guys, so basically that's where left off. You guys can switch across the bitch and check out for yourself. So, what's the beginning new episode? It took a while for them to get there. But they made their way towards the tower. Between the two of them it was easy to pull out the scroll and form it in an X motion till they move away. As Aruka appeared, with a smile on his face. But he then noticed Sakura on Naruto's back hanging limply. Is Sakura okay? Do we need to get her to a medical ninja? No need, Aruka-sensei. Sakura-chan is fine, said Naruto. Sasuke looked across to him strangely, wondering when Naruto became so familiar with Sakura. He never called her Sakura-chan before. But I gave her a rather delicate cocktail of drugs when she took a nasty injury, so I think the medical name will do more damage than good. If they try to treat her, you know. Aruka looked worried, but Naruto simply dissuaded his concerns a shake of his hand. It's nothing serious, Sensei, but she's gonna need some rest. Can I get her to the room? Aruka nodded as they start to walk into the tower even more. Are you absolutely sure, Naruto? You don't want the medics to look her over? Sakura started to slide on his back as he heft her up. Come on, Sensei. You know I learned a lot of medical techniques during the academy, so I know exactly how to treat her. Plus, this survival exercise, right? There won't be any convenient med out there on missions. Again, Aruka nodded slowly, the troubled expression not leaving his face. So Naruto had to bring out the big guns. It's okay, Sensei, she's my teammate. I would never let anything bad happen to her. Finally, Aruka's features softened as he gave a smile. Alright then, well if she haven't recovered by the end of the remaining 4 days, then bring her to the medics, okay? Naruto nodded as Aruka finally left them alone to find their rooms. Sasuke was still giving her the odd looks, but he was too tired to really care, as he finally separated into one of the rooms, allowing Naruto to slip in one of his own, a double. Carefully, he laid Sakura's body in the bed, as he unsealed Kin's body and laid it on the other bed. At least Sensei would be proud that I got 2 girls in bed. He chuckled to himself awkwardly, but you could see the slightly worried expression on his face, as he had no clue what he's doing. For that day, he didn't really do much. He just sit there and stare at 2 corpses, before sealing them back up, because he felt sick, as he started to wander the tower. That didn't really accomplish much either, but he heard 2 Chunin talking about the fact that there might not be any preliminaries. This year, the examinees were trickling slowly. Apparently, from Team 7, there was only 2 other teams that came in so far. As he went down to the canteen, but he could only pick at his food, his appetite was really bad. Seeing that it was, well, meat, cooked animal flesh, wasn't doing much for him right now. After a good few hours, he was back in his room, as he stared at Kid's body that was on the bed. He had removed the mattress, so she was lying on the hard wooden support underneath. He figured that would make things easier. Sakura was still sealed up, he just couldn't deal with her right now. He might make a mistake that he couldn't fix. Then again, this whole life felt like a huge mistake already. But what was he supposed to do? Run to the Hokage and tell him that he lied about his teammate death just to advance in Chunin exams, and that he was already thinking about desecrating her body for the same reason? He shook his head as he focused on the other girl for a moment, properly examining her for the first time since collecting her body. Oh sure, he looked at them, but he never properly examined her. It almost reminded him of a dead bird that he had used for inspiration for him. For a while he just moved her body, flexing her joints, turning her head this way and that. For a minute, he even satisfied a, well, childish theory that he had about a female body, as he was going to peep, but it just made him feel sick. He felt an overwhelming sickness just wash over him. What was he doing? He got caught up in all of this. His head started to spin. 2 dead bodies, not to mention Stalker as well, as his mind was going through what he has to do to turn a human body into a puppet. 2 of them, not just 1. First, he had to break the joints, disconnect the major skeleton from the muscles, so that he could install his own joints into their place. He would have to remove the organs as well, because they were simply waste of space now. He would have to drain the blood, so if it was cut, there would be no evidence of the origin. To further prevent this, he would have to reinforce the skin, the muscle, and the skeleton. with a special rest that he used on his puppets to increase their durability. It was a substance that could increase and strengthen anything they touched. He knew what he had to do, but as he looked down the body, his hands only shake. He couldn't, his body refused to go on with it. As he sat there and just looked, not doing anything. But his hands didn't start to move, without him realizing it. They moved through hand sign, a D-rank wing technique, using to cut wood into shape. As he cut a single line down her torso, there was less blood than he would imagine. It was like he was on autopilot, simply checking things off as he did them, not really focused on the entire situation. But he was doing it, his body, his hands were moved on their own. As he worked through the entire night, there was a ticking in the back of his mind and he knew that it wouldn't go away until he finished her. It was only when it was finally over he stared at his hands. As he collapsed to the floor, they were soaked in blood. As Kin looked down at him with her glassy eyes, with a smile on her face, she just sat there, waiting for him to use her. His body suddenly felt sick as he turned over and started to puke. There wasn't much in his stomach, but he still puked. As he then collapsed over right beside his puke, just looking up at the ceiling. As he looked to see Kin smiling face at him. He then felt something warm in his cheek. He was crying. When did he start to cry? He spent the rest of the night curling up in the corner, as he did not look up because he knew that she was sitting there. She was unable to close her eyes after all. She would be still looking. As his eyes drifted towards the scroll in his pocket, he had to do it again. Just thinking about it brought puke up to his throat. Time skip. Kakashi arrived at the final day with a smile on his face. Because why wouldn't he be happy? The new Ichi Ichi series were going to be released next week. And not to mention his cute little Jenny's passed in a single day. And he earned quite a lot of money from the Jonin senseis that made a bet with him. Yes, everything was coming up hotty. As he made his way towards the balcony on training ground for the 4th hour. Naturally, he was an hour late. As the Chunin candidates were making their way up to the balcony, the Hokage just finished his speech. "How are we doing, my cute little students?" he asked. Said Sasuke as he walked past, with his hands in his pockets. Naruto simply slipped by like a ghost, his goggles over his eyes. His features looked far colder than when Kakashi saw them. Surprisingly, Sakura was the same as she slipped by him with her head down, her hair rather messy, falling over her face. Her eyes were half lifted and she looked tired. "Are you okay, Sakura?" Kakashi asked. Sakura sighed as she leaned on the banister, not looking back at him as she looked over the arena. "Oh, I'm okay, Sensei. Just a little bit tired," she said. Kakashi simply eyed smiled as he looked towards the other Jonin senseis and started to talk to them, never noticing Naruto's shoulders release a sigh of relief. All eyes then turned towards the board, towards Lee, and older Konoha ninja. Apparently, the Chunin that Naruto heard was wrong. There was enough candidates for the exam, for the preliminaries. There was 16 of them. All the rookies and Team 9 had made it through. There was also an older Konoha team from another graduation class, but 2 members had dropped out because of their injuries, leaving the last one to fight Lee. There was also the Sand team that Naruto has noticed before, and a second Sand squad that arrived, but they dropped out immediately, sending strange glances toward the redhead. The first fight was incredibly quick with Lee, showing prowess in taijutsu. The older Konoha ninja was trying to use a chakra draining technique on Lee. For whatever reason, he didn't have any effect on Lee, as he mopped up the guy really quickly with a knockout kick. Kakashi was pulled from his thoughts as he was watching, as Sakura tugged on his jacket. As yet again she was looking up at him. "Sensei, do you remind me if I rest for a bit?" she said. "Can you wake me up when my match is called?" Kakashi was informed that she was injured during the exam, and that she had required treatment, but he didn't know the extent of it. He simply gave her a nod, as she then walked off towards the side. She sat down and she pulled her legs up to her chest. Her head dropped down within moments and looked like she was asleep. Kakashi simply smiled, thinking that she must have stayed up, worried about the 3rd task. He couldn't think on it any longer though, as one of his students were called up. He gave Naruto an encouraging pat on the shoulder as he walked by. But Naruto didn't even seem to notice it, as Kakashi felt a hand on his shoulder as he turned to see Guy. "Isn't this exciting, my friend? We both get to watch our students show their flames of youth against one another." As Kakashi looked down to see that Naruto was about to face off against Tenten. As Tenten was bouncing on her feet, ready to begin the match, but Naruto just stood there, like some kind of statue. As the proctor told him to begin, Tenten threw a volley of kunai as Naruto didn't even move, as they phased right through him. As Tenten realized she was stripped by a clone. "I hope you don't mind being used as a guinea pig," a voice said all around them. "But I am unused to using this puppet in a fight. It may take me a moment to get used to it." Tintin's eyes snapped all around as she tried to find him. Where the hell was he? Even the audience were confused. Before any of them tried to use dojutsu to locate him, he emerged from the floor, simply melting out of it. Kakashi was surprised. He had never taught her the subterranean bodge technique. I haven't even named her yet, but I'm leaning towards Kane, said Naruto, as he pulled a scroll out of his jacket. She was about to stop with another barrage of kunai, but she saw something at the corner of her eye. As she spun and released the kunai on Naruto behind her, but it was just a clone, a distraction. It bought Naruto enough time to unseal Kane's body, but he was unrecognizable. But by the way, none of them really know Kane in here. Her pale skin tone was gone, giving her a tan appearance. Her skin seemed more shiny, not looking like normal flesh. Well, that was the point. Her previous and neat tight hair was let loose, shattering everywhere all around her, and masking her face. And a pure obsidian black eyes, and a permanent smile sketching her face. Up at the spectator balcony, the three sand ninjas were surprised as they were seeing Puppeteer in Konoha. This was impossible, Kankuro thought. The boy Jonin Sensei was Kakashi. He had no idea about puppeteering, so what is this? As Kankuro was pissed, how did this boy, as he clenched the balcony? Meanwhile, Tenten was looking at Kin in front of her, as Kin was just moving her body and flexing. Her expression never changing. Well, it couldn't. The puppet itself was wearing a set of Naruto clothing, as he had little less on hand. The fishnet shirt to the vest thrown over. It was buttoned up, of course. All the clothes looked tattered and worn, like they had been intentionally ripped, which they had. It only served to raise the creepiness of the puppet. Okay, now I'm ready, said Naruto. It snapped Tenten note of her thought as a grin came on her lips. You better be dull, boy, she said, as she smiled. From the stands, Kankuro yelled, but he didn't realize that insult was not yelled at him, as he went back to just cursing the blonde in his mind, and wondering how the hell does he know puppeteering. Naruto didn't know why, but from controlling Kin, he felt the odd detachment to himself, and things that he controlled, it was just strange. Tenten started a large barrage of kunais. Kin raised her reinforced arm and deflect every single one of them. She moved much faster than when she was alive, thanks to Naruto's skill and her sudden lightness. Her movements were a bit jerky though, showing Naruto inexperience in dealing with this kind of puppet. All the same, she was a perfect shield for the largest rain of kunais and shurikens. It mattered how accurate Tenten was. It didn't matter because Kin could simply block them all. Her body was reinforced after all. But Tenten started to use kunais to deflect other kunais, to try to blindside him, to try and confuse him and hit him. But Kin was close to Naruto, so it wouldn't be an issue. As the match progressed, Naruto was becoming more useful and more connected with her move, as Kin was moving much smoother and faster. As Tenten tried to reach for another scroll, Naruto twitched his finger. Kin shot off with incredible speed and appeared in front of Tenten. Slash! Tenten jumped away as a thorn was on her shirt. As she looked down to see that she had been cut. You might want to forfeit within the next few seconds, Naruto said as he pulled back into his side, confusing Tenten. Tenten looked at him like if he was crazy. She had barely felt that scratch. Why would she give up? In the stands, Sasuke just lowered his head, knowing what Naruto has already done. And knowing that the match was over, most of the spectators are confused as well, but Kankuro was still fuming even more. I don't know what kind of opponents you faced before, but if you think a little scratch like this, well, Tenten suddenly started to stutter, as she suddenly felt a burning sensation from where the cut was. As her body felt numb, her mind started to become fuzzy. The scroll fell out of her hand and she collapsed down to the ground. Naruto walked over as he pulled a syringe out of his pocket and just stabbed her, right below the cut. As the onlookers watched, Naruto simply walked off straight up towards his team on the balcony. The proctor got over his surprise and called the match, Naruto being the winner. As the rookies and the others wondered what the hell just happened, they had no clue. As Guy and Lee went down there as they recovered the unconscious Tenten, as they started to shout about their fire of youth never being extinguished. Kankuro couldn't hold it on anymore. What the hell is this? He shouted. How the hell does a Konoha brat know puppeteering? He pointed over towards Naruto. As Baki looked over the Hokage, what is the meaning of this, Hokage? He asked. The Hokage simply stood there, gently puffing at his pipe. Quiet down, Uncle suddenly yelled. Her voice projecting with chakra, it was very loud. Hirschan cleared his throat softly as they all quiet down. Thank you, Uncle, he said. Uncle simply smiled. As Naruto returned, no, I understand there might be some issues that need to be addressed. But these issues can wait until after the preliminary rounds. I will be more than happy to use my time to assuage any concern the sand delegates may have in my office, but not while in the presence of those it does not concern, he said. He then turned. Now, Hayate, if you will, he said. Right, Hokage-sama man said as he pointed towards the board once again. The next two names, Uchiha Sasuke versus Choji Akimichi. Both boys went down there, but it didn't look like Choji wanted to even be there. The match was over rather quickly. Choji just couldn't keep up with Sasuke's speed, and it was over within minutes. Sasuke left the arena looking unsatisfied by the challenge. He never noticed how the Hokage and Anko has been looking at him, like they were searching for something that should be there, and surprised that it was not. Anko glanced at him ever often as she rubbed at her neck as she did so. Was what she was told a lie? As she narrowed her eyes, the two other names then came up. Sakura, said Kakashi. Sakura slowly raised her head as Kakashi motioned towards the board. Looks like you're up. Knock him dead, he said, with a bright-eyed smile. The way everything was going, it was great. Seeing that his students are the defeated Guy and Asuma students, well, he couldn't claim to be, well, the responsible foe, seeing that Sasuke's a prodigy on his own, and Naruto thought himself, but the others didn't need to know that. Well, well, forehead, it looks like you're up against me, Ino said, with a smile on her face. Well, this is just another opportunity to show Sasuke how much more better I am than you. Sakura said nothing as she just sank into a ready position. Can we just get started? Her tired voice said, sounding out. As Ino got ready, Sakura would not get the drop on her. As the proctor started the match, before Ino could even speak, Sakura dashed forward with a strange, surprising speed. She certainly was not this fast leaving the academy. As Kakashi grinned under his mask, it was already looking like an easy win. As Sakura flipped a kunai out of her holster, with a rather quick movement as Ino quickly pulled out kunai as well, trying to block Sakura. As they clashed, Ino was pushed back. At the first movement, she was shocked. When the hell did Sakura become so strong? As Ino diverted the weapon and jumped away to see Sakura dashing forward once again. Ino launched a flurry of shurikens, but Sakura slipped under all of them without much effort. Even with her hair covering her face, she seemed to know where everything was. Then suddenly, they were close once again, engaging in taijutsu. It was strange because Sakura didn't even seem to notice half of the blows that Ino landed on her. As Ino jumped back, pulling out shuriken at the same time and threw them. As Sakura brought up her hands as it left 3 gashes on her arms. As Sakura leapt back. How's that feel, forehead? Right to forfeit yet? Asked Ino. As the wounds gently started to bleed. Sakura tore her sleeve as she wrapped around the wounds that she got. Ino then fired off a handful of kunai. They were moving slow. Ino just wanted to push Sakura back to the wall so she could win with her superior taijutsu. If it was anyone, it would have been easy to dodge, but Naruto's finger twitched. As many things happened, Sakura made the dodge only to place her foot on one of Tenten kunais that she faced off against Naruto earlier with. Ino's eyes widened as Sakura slipped off the kunai and the kunais that Ino threw. Sakura couldn't dodge him as they all stabbed right into her. The entire arena went quiet as Sakura's body dropped with a thud. Kakashi was in the arena in a second as the medical team rushed out as quickly as possible. As he looked over her body quickly, she got a kunai through the chest, one through the neck, and a few more over her bodies. That wasn't a good thing. As they rapidly moved her into a stretcher, the medic team face was grim. Ino collapsed down on the floor. What did she just do? As Kakashi muttered something to himself as he watched them carry off Sakura. Immediately, the Jonin senseis of the rookies were turned to their students, reassuring them that everything will be fine. As Ino was led away by Asuma, shaking, as none of them noticed a sigh of relief that Naruto gave off. That had to be done. As he put a shocked expression on his face. He didn't know why, but a part of him was happy that he managed to accomplish this. Learning from Kid's body that he could manipulate her move through her chakra system was a godsend, as he could manipulate the body in strange ways, keeping Sakura's heart pumping even after her death and her lungs breathing. For all intents and purposes, Sakura has been alive for the last few hours because her heart was beating and her lungs were breathing. But as Naruto saw Kakashi walk up by the stairs to them, he felt a paining sensation in his chest that he could not explain. Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto, is Sakura gonna be okay? The look he got from Kakashi was all that he needed, as he slumped back down on the wall. While it was mostly an act to throw them off, this feeling he felt inside. What was it? Know that it was over. He got away. What was he supposed to feel? What did he feel? Time skip. She was dead. They got the report back. Sakura was dead. There was a 20-minute break. As all the students, all the rookies had shocked expression on their faces. And a few tunings went down there to clear the arena from debris and blood. As one kunai caused the girl to slip. And now she was dead. Naruto, said Kakashi, as he watched her push himself off the wall. For the last 20 so minutes he has been there, not saying anything. You don't have to force yourself to do anything, Kakashi said. As Naruto had removed his goggles, they were hanging around his neck, so Kakashi could see his eyes. It's fine, Sensei, said Naruto. I'm still a part of this conversation, aren't I? Kakashi wanted to say something, maybe a reinsurance, perhaps a condolence. But Kakashi was never one to handle grief pretty well himself, so it was hard. As he turned towards the board after a nod. Come on, Akamaru, let's do this, Kiba growled. His voice lacked the usual unquenchable enthusiasm as Akamaru yipped in approval. He wasn't that excited either as he felt the tone of the room. They hopped over the railing as they were going to face off against Kankuro. So you're my opponent, said Kankuro. Huh. All that wait for a mutt and his dog, of course. Kiba fell for the taunt as he cursed back at Kankuro. As Naruto knew that her anger while Kiba was, well, not very good because his attack lost their focus. He was just going to be wild and brash. The match started as Kiba went on all fours and rushed his opponent really quickly. As Kankuro seemed off guard by Kiba's speed as he leaned back, but Kiba slashed him across the face. But Kankuro just leaned back as he didn't cry out in pain or anything. But when they saw his face they understood. Behind it was a wooden feature that started to shake in an undisturbed manner. Naruto blinked as he saw the rest of the disguise fall away. At least his theory has been proven. He was another puppeteer. That was interesting. It dashed forward, trying to grab Kiba. Kiba was fast enough to jump back, not rash enough to engage his unknown threat. Behind the bundle, Kankuro emerged from the rat puppet on his back. As Naruto watched, he was learning quite a bit already. As much as Sakura's death had confused his emotions, the chance to see a real-life sand puppeteer, even if he was just a genin, was a childhood dream of his. Huh, you used dolls like Naruto. Well, this should be a piece of cake, Kiba said. As Kiba made Kankuro and Naruto eye twitch. As Kankuro, not used to the comment, took a rather, well, unsavory taste to it. Please, like you could ever call a cheap imitation like that real puppeteering. Kankuro said a sneer over his face. And he certainly isn't playing with dolls. Let me show you how it's really done. Naruto's eyebrow twitched once again, wondering why everyone felt the urge to insult him. Whatever. Come on, Shikamaru, let's go. It at least seemed that Kiba had learned something from growing up in Naruto. Attack the puppeteer and not the puppet. In this open arena, a puppeteer could not hide unless they could conceal themselves. Both Kiba and Shikamaru barreled towards him. Kankuro simply smiled as his fingers started to twitch. The movement of Kankuro's fingers were complete gibberish to him. Naruto thought that he might have understood, but he couldn't understand shit about it. It almost made him feel silly for concealing his fingers and hiding it with his jacket. Well, it did help him hide that he was controlling Sakura. Kankuro puppet come between them as the thing was opening its mouth and closing it rather fast like it was talking. As Naruto wondered if all sand puppets did that. Various compartments opened up as they thought a large, packed complex of senbons. As Naruto could see the venom dripping off its senbons. As Shikamaru transformed into Kiba, as the both of them twisted their body. Getsuga! As they teared through the remaining senbons, as they took out the puppet arms. With a yank on his shreds, the puppet jumped back over to his master. There was another thing bugging Naruto. The puppet had the ability to fly. He desperately wanted to know how he was doing that, if it was a trade of the hidden sand, or the boy puppeteering. Kiba broke off his attack, the two Inuzukas spinning and ricocheting off the floor. It was a diversion, as Kiba dropped a smoke bomb, filling the entire area. As Kiba started his attack again and two of them were tearing through the smoke cloud in and out. They left craters everywhere they hit, showing how devastating the attack was. As Naruto never saw the attack before, it made him wonder, when did Kiba truly grow up and become a proper contender for the Chunin exam? Finally, Kiba came to a stop as Shikamaru reverted back to his normal form, the hench wearing off. The thick veil of smoke started to die down. As Shikamaru barked towards Kiba, yeah, there's no way he's getting up after that boy, said Kiba with a smirk. As Shikamaru jumped on top of Kiba's head. There was a small chuckle when the smoke cleared to show the puppet still standing. It was battered and missing two more limbs, but it was still operational. As Kankuro simply climbed out of his chest cavity. Naruto clicked his tongue in irritation, so he wasn't the only one to think of hiding his puppet for defense. Huh, if you think Karasu would be destroyed from such a weak attack, then you're underestimating the Sand puppet core. It doesn't matter that you gotten out. Come on boy, let's get him. As Kiba was not focused on the cloth that Conqueror had up to his mouth, it was then that Akamaru started a weakly limp as he slumped down on Kiba's head. What's wrong boy? Kiba's legs then started to shake as he went down on his knees. Huh, it was too easy to slip some poison in that smoke stream that you provided. And you were gracious enough to throw yourself into it a few times as well. You're just lucky I didn't use anything lethal, otherwise your Puppeteer would have more than trouble than just moving. Call it, said Conqueror as he looked at the proctor. The mutt's done. Bastard, Kiba said before collapsing forward as he passed out from jogging his bloodstream. As Conqueror simply chuckled before glaring over towards Naruto. But Naruto paid him no mind. The next match, Shikamaru vs Gara. This match didn't really last too long. After Shikamaru found out that Gara can still control his hand even when he was restrained, and well, kunais and shurikens could not get through that thing, he gave up. It was obviously a lost cause, as he wouldn't be leaving if he stayed too longer. After all, he didn't want to die, as he could see it on that guy's face. He was kind of unstable, as Gara seemed angry that he was denied a fight, denied to slaughter someone. As Naruto watched the next match, as Hinata and Temari went down. I heard of the Hyuga clan, said Temari. You're supposed to be undefeatable in close combat or something. Plus you have those strange eyes, right? Hinata simply shrank back, her fingers come together and pressing under the more confident Kunoichi hard gaze. I don't see it, all I see is a little girl, playing ninja. As she took the fan off her back, opening to show one circle. Well, don't worry girl, you won't get close enough to make that be an issue. I can promise you that. The proctor simply looked over in annoyance as Temari was cutting him off, wondering if he could start the match yet. He did so as he had to jump away as Temari swung her fan. At least Hinata wasn't defeated by the first blow, she jumped away. As Naruto was interested in the Byakugan, whether people argue whether it was better than Sharingan or not, the ability to see that far, to see through objects as well, it was a dream for a puppeteer. He wouldn't have to stay so close for his puppets to control them, and it would make integrating their system far more easier. Not to mention they can see through Genjutsu. Yes, a personal weakness of his when he was up against his own team. Hinata got to her feet, Byakugan, as she activated them. This time when Temari launched her wind blast, Hinata could see the amount of chakra that was in it, and the length that it would go. Her movement was more fluid as she slipped around the blast. As she slid under the second one and flipped right over the third one and glide under the fourth one. But she was just dodging, she was not going forward into a taijutsu range. As Naruto saw her looking nervously up in the crowd, as he turned to see the other Hyuga that he met before glaring at her. Naruto returned to look back at Hinata as he wondered what she was seeing through those eyes. Hinata turned as both of their eyes made contact for a second. He didn't know why or what happened, but Hinata got more determined. Her stance even got more stronger. As Temari opened her battle fan more further, as Hinata dashed forward, Temari swing but Hinata sliced right through the wind blast. Her hand covered in chakra. Suddenly, she was right inside of Temari's guard. Temari was no slouch with her weapon in close combat, but there's a reason that Hyugas were so feared in taijutsu. As Hinata diverted Temari's fan to his side with a well-placed palm strike. As Hinata could see the build-up of chakra from Temari as she knocked the fan to the side, surprising Temari. As Temari's stomach was exposed, Hinata's hand moved like blur as she attacked the girl relentlessly, closing her points. I am not playing ninja, Hinata said, as Temari collapsed down to her knees. As Conqueror was shocked that his sister was taken out, he thought that she had this. Hinata then noticed everyone is looking at her and what she just did. Sorry, she said, as Temari collapsed down, as the medics came to take her away. As Neji simply glared at Hinata even more. As Hinata walked by him, Naruto could barely hear her say something, but it sounded like she said thank you. He blinked, only to ask her what was that, but she went off to her teammates. As she lowered her head into her jacket, like some kind of a turtle entering his shell. The next match was Neji versus Chino. Without a word, he activated his Byakugan. You should give up now, Abermi. I can see all those bugs swarming around your body, as well as the trap that you are attempting to set up around me. Chino simply remained impassive. Seeing does not mean acting, said Chino. Because sometimes you can't trust your eyes, Chino said. As the proctor started the match, most were confused as Neji rushed into a random direction, Chino chasing after him. As Neji jumped up in the air, the part of the floor he was standing on suddenly burst with insects. In a split second, his body spinning around, his movement far faster and gracious than Hinata's. His finger lashed out at thin air, only for Chino to phase into existence. Across through the other Chino burst into a massive swarm of bugs as they made their way forward to protect their master. But Neji didn't stop, as he was able to see the mini Tenkatsu as he started to strike Chino. By the time he was done, Chino was on the floor as Neji placed 2 fingers on his shoulder. Surrender. His fingertips humming with a blue glow. One more strike and I will block off the necessary chakra that you need to control your swarm. They will literally eat you from the inside. Chino complied. He was outclassed. He was unable or ready to face an opponent like Neji. Obviously, being on a team with Hinata didn't really help him. And seeing that she wasn't as good as Neji, it was even worse. I always trust my eyes. I see everything about me. As Chino was carried away, Hinata wanted to go see her teammate, but they were called down to the arena floor. Congratulations to all of you for advancing this far. Of the final rounds of the Chunin exams, here you will all be able to place your battle skills on display. Naruto caught the Hokage glance at him for a split second, a strange look on the old man's face. The final exam will take place 1 month from now. As none of them said anything about that, good. This will grant you enough time to come up with new battle strategies and plans. It will also be a good idea to rest up, take stock of your own abilities, and evolve them accordingly. Now for the finals. As he looked over towards Anko, I'll take it from here, she said. Alright, everyone come and take a piece of paper. As Naruto went to draw a number, Anko was eyeing him up and down, not even hiding it. As he drew the slip, it was a number 6 on it. Now, will everyone color their number? Said Hiruzen. 5, said Kankuro, seeing that he was at the end of the line. 1, said Lee. A perfect, youthful number. I bet Guy Sensei would be proud. 8, said Gara, snarling at the paper. It likely meant a late fight. 2, said Sasuke, his face a blank mass, as it has been since Sakura's death. 4, said Hinata, nervously. 6, Naruto said softly. 3, said Neji. The Hokage nodded as they finished. And that leave number 7 for Yamanaka-san. Good. Then matchup are decided for the last part of the Chunin exams. Matchup 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And the winners of the first part of the exam will go on to the second round, where they will face off against number 7. Now, not even the winner of the tournament might become Chunin. They might not even make the rank. He raised his hand, stopping him from asking questions. During the tournament, you will be assessed on the qualities that Chunin should possess. That means even if you were defeated in the first round, but you still show these traits, you will still advance in rank. However, the ones that win the tournament, yet show none of these qualities, would fail. As of this point, all of you had the potential to make Chunin, do your village and your nations proud. And with those parting words, he left them. Naruto took towards the door. He wanted to get out of here as fast as possible. Already thoughts and ideas inspired by what he had seen today welled through his mind. But there was this strange emotional turmoil that he felt below the surface that he needed to sort out. In any case, at his apartment, some rest would do him some good. As he passed the door, he was stopped by Kakashi. Naruto, good, you didn't vanish, he said, causing Naruto to grumble. In his mind, he was about to. I want to talk to you about the month break. I have arranged for you to be trained by a Jonin instructor called Ebisu. Naruto blinked at that, as he could see that Kakashi was trying to hold his emotions back. Quite well. That's so remarkable timing, considering that we had no idea that I would pass, said Naruto. I had faith in my students, said Kakashi with a smile. But it seemed rather forced. I arranged training for all 3 of you, just in case you need it. I'll be taking Sasuke with me. I'm the only one who can help him, because I have the Sharingan as well. Ebisu is a private, training instructor who has trained a number of Chunins up to the level of Jonins. I'm sure he can find something to work on with you. Naruto somewhat remembered a man named Ebisu from his limited interactions with the Hokage grandson. The man seemed not to like him very much. Thank you, but it won't be necessary. I have a lot to work on over the break, if I'm going to be ready. For opponents like Gara, Neji, or Sasuke, an instructor that doesn't understand me will only be a hindrance. Okay, I understand, Kakashi. Sometimes it's better to be alone to deal with issues like this. I had to trade off my rare Ichi series to Ebisu, just to get him to agree, so you owe me. Naruto simply nodded. As he turned, Naruto, if you need anything, even if you need to talk, come see me, okay? As Naruto nodded, as Kakashi's eyes smiled before leaving, as Kakashi reappeared leaning up against the wall, his posture slumped. As he wiped away the tear from his eye, As he had to make his way back to the tower, he needed to collect Sasuke. This was going to be a long month for everybody. Time skip. Naruto was sitting down comfortably, his hood back as he was looking at the San Jonin, who was fuming at the old man. The amusing part was that Hokage was just sitting there. He allowed Baki to vent while he was just simply smoking. Naruto was sitting here because not even 10 minutes after going back home, he was notified to come to the Hokage's tower immediately. But this meeting was quite amusing, and you somehow expect me to believe a child of all things was able to re-engineer the sand, puppeteering just from a book, along with some trial and error. That's impossible, said Baki. If it helps, there was a lot of error, said Naruto, adding non-perfect just to, well, antagonize a man. Because he was in the right for once, there was no scheming, no trickery. He didn't do anything wrong, so this man had, well, nothing to do. Quiet, I'll get you into a moment, said Baki, as Hiruzen coughed in his hand. If we could refrain from threatening one of my shinobis, Baki-san, I'm sure we can come to some sort of diplomatic solution here. Diplomatic? Hokage-sama, I think you don't understand the sincerity of the situation, said Baki. This will be seen as a great insult to the Sand Council. Kazekage-sama himself would likely become involved, especially if the Puppeteer Corps head catch wind of this. We are potentially looking at an international incident here that would possibly jeopardize the treaty's place between our two villages. No, Baki-san, I think you don't understand. As the hat was tilted over, Hiruzen's head just right, for the shadow to cover his eyes, making him look rather scary. My shinobi has done nothing wrong, and that is all there is to it. It is neither my problem nor the Kazekage concern if a ninja was able to re-engineer a Sanjutsu. It's a concern that must be addressed by year-old shinobi using their arts out in the field. Consider the age and the success of the Puppeteer Corps in the past. It surprised me that this hasn't happened sooner. As he leaned back and gave a, well, small smile. They say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, said Naruto. Even Hiruzen smiled lightly at the joke. In any case, Baki said, holding back his anger towards Naruto, I'm sure the Kazekage will be in contact with you. This is an issue that will have far reminiscence, he said. I can assure you of that, he said, looking at Naruto. With that, he stormed out of the room, as he motioned for Conqueror, who was quietly sitting there, to follow. So, said Conqueror as he stopped at the door, you really did it. You reverse engineer puppeteering just by trying to. Yeah, took me years too. Although it did help persuade your ego. I believe the two styles are quite different. Whatever, said Conqueror. I suppose I'll just have to show you what real puppeteering is in our match. He muttered slightly, ignoring the Naruto wave after him. Looking forward to it, he said, as Conqueror simply marched out, making Naruto chuckle. As Hiruzen was looking at Naruto with a bit of pride and, well, tiredness. I do wish you wouldn't antagonize a foreign shinobi like that, Naruto-kun. It's a dangerous game to be playing, especially internationally. Forgive me, Hokage-sama, it is so rare I found myself in a advantageous, oblivious, justified position. I had to take what I could. Yes, I do believe you're right, but rare, Naruto, said Hiruzen. You wouldn't be hiding anything of equal importance, are you? He seemed only half serious, his eyes already drifting toward the paperwork on his desk. In the man's eyes, Naruto could see that it was probably already closed. He would discuss it with the Kazekage once he returned here for the finals. Of course not, Hokage-sama, said Naruto, hiding the twitch of his finger in his jacket sleeve. With that settled, the Hokage told him that he was dismissed, as Naruto could leave. He took a handful of steps. Then he had the feeling like he was being watched. Some might have called it paranoia, but he was a shinobi. It's a good thing to be a bit paranoid. To confirm it, Naruto took a rather, well, unseeming path home that he never took before. Sure enough, when he took a turn into a pathway where the sun was settling down, he could see a shadow that darted past. Yes, he had a tail. He wondered who it was. Perhaps a member of his sand party, or a spy from the Hokage, the old man, having caught onto his ruse. Another competitor trying to get secrets out of him before the finals. He wasn't so certain, but instead of feeling frightened or nervous, he felt, well, excited. As a smirk came on his face, it was like a competition, a game that was being played. Well, his pursuer will find nothing anyway, as he made his way down the alley. A few days later, after giving his stalker a run around Konoha, he found himself in a situation. He huffed as he breathed out of his nose, staring in front of the lifeless swarm of kin in front of him. He had thought about many things what to do with her, including destroying her. But that felt wrong. After using her body after death, just throwing her away, that felt wrong. But he realized something. He controlled kin through her chakra. So to think about it, a puppet that could perform jutsu. For the life of him, he couldn't think of a reason that it wouldn't work. Sure enough, an hour later, he managed to make Kin multiply herself with a common clone technique. They were a little useless though, having no function mind, but that didn't mean other jutsus wouldn't be useful. It was like he had access to every jutsu that Kin had. No, if he wanted to perform a jutsu, it had to be one he knew. And a few genjutsu that he never really, could do. It seems like Kin's body accepted all of them, because her body was pre-exposed towards the art of genjutsu. As Naruto's currently looking at the board now, with all of his, competitors, most of them had skills that would leave him at a huge disadvantage. There was some things he needed to work on. Well, at least he had some time to prepare, so he wasn't worrying about anything yet. But he feels like he's been here working for too long. Maybe he needs some fresh air. As he decided to head out, a quick jog through the village. As Naruto noticed his pursuer was absent, as he arrived at a training ground, as he heard thumps, someone was hitting something. As he made his way to see Hinata, as she was hitting a post. With her Byakugan activated, it only took her a moment to notice him. Naruto-kun, she said in surprise. Her fingers coming up to poke nervously against one another. It was an annoying habit, but at least she didn't stutter his name anymore. Hey Hinata, did I catch you at a bad time? He asked. Most out of habit, he didn't think that he could catch her at a bad time, because she had this strange attachment to him, this attraction, that come off creepy most of the time. Well, sometimes a bit obsessive. Oh, no, I was only training, she said. Naruto was confused why she would say only training. That was the most important thing they could do for this month. He chopped it up to her dysfunctional family life that he had pieced together from their talks. Oh well, I have this for you, he said. As he had a stack of papers, well, things were going better with Nami. Nowadays, he only needed her advice on a few things. She was confused. Hokage-sama still assigned you this task? Even on Chunin exams? Well, he said that the village still run, even if the Hokage has other business to attend to. I think he's trying to make me give up on it, but we won't give him the satisfaction, right? He gave her a wink, which immediately made her cheeks blush red. No, of course not, she said. I'll go through this as quickly as I can, Naruto-kun. No need to go out of your way for me, your training is more important, said Naruto. After all, you're up against Neji, right? From what I saw, you're gonna have a tough time, but I'm sure that you're gonna manage something. Actually, Naruto-kun, She mumbled something incredibly fast, but Naruto still hear her. She asked if he could help her. Of course I'll be willing to help you, said Naruto. After all, you helped me so much. As he wondered what was it, she gave an excited squeal, as she not expect that he would accept. Well, can you help me train? I want to show Cousin Neji that I'm not a failure like he believes. She saw the look on his face. I understand if you know, said Naruto. It's not that I don't want to help, it's just... He struggled, tried to put a nice way because bottom line, he didn't want to help. Training Hinata up to an equal standards where she could face off against Neji would just be a waste of time. However, she had proved herself valuable in helping him with his work. Well, I'm not sure what I can do to help you if honest, unless I make you practice your Jayugan strikes on me, which would be rather unpleasing, he said. See, I'm not really great at taijutsu myself. Well, not on Neji level. And none of my puppets have chakra network, so unless you have a spare functioning chakra network lying around. Naruto's eyes went wide, as something struck him. Actually, I might have just the thing. Hinata's eyes lit back up. Really? She said. Yeah, that could work, he said to himself. Yeah, he said, nodding to her. Meet me back here in 3 days, okay? And with that, he took off. Hinata collapsed down as he ran off, with a blush on her face, smiling the entire time. A few days later, Naruto arrived with a guest in tone. As Hinata was eyeing the puppet standing next to him. Well, didn't I say I would come with a solution, he said, looking at his puppet. He seemed rather pleased with himself, in all things considered. And why not? It was a perfect solution. Hinata can gain some practice and some confidence. And he would gain experience how to control his latest puppet, increasing his skill in general. And he would also have some practice fighting against a Hyuga. The puppet, she said, as something about the glassy eyes and the grin etched in her face. It just unsettled her. Yes, the puppet. Go on, take a look, said Naruto. She walked closer as she looked at the puppet. As Naruto sighed, no, I mean take a look, he said. Oh, she said. Byakugan, as she activated her Byakugan. As she gasped in surprise. But how, she said. Impressive, right, said Naruto. It took a lot of work, but I think I nailed it. So, it's not real, said Hinata. As she could see, the brightly glowing pathway of the puppet. It was so carefully weaponed like real muscle. Hinata couldn't believe it was artificial. Well, the hollowed out part and no organs, and also the traps inside. She could see that, well, it was a puppet, but the system that was inside of it, the chakra network. Nope, all completely artificial, Naruto lied. As she had to believe him because if she were to not believe him and go to somebody, it would be rather unpleasant for the both of them. After a moment though, she gave him a smash and deactivated her Byakugan gun. It's incredible, she said. And Naruto was sure that it would be if he had built such a thing from scratch and not, well, work on a human body. Yeah, it was kind of a side project on mine, seeing if I can create a human body from the ground up, using artificial components. Harder than it looks, I have to say. So when you said in the preliminaries that you never used it before, Naruto nodded to her. Yeah, she was more of an experiment. But now, I can use her to help you, said Naruto. Hinata was a bit confused. I might not be able to recreate the Taiyuken. Although, give him enough time observing Hinata's strikes and her movements, well, he could probably do something about that. But I have managed to install tiny spikes at the end of both her fingertips, laced with a mildly sedative paralytic that might be able to recreate the effects of a Taiyuken strike. So, asked Hinata. But Naruto jumped back. So, start dodging, he said. Time skip. Hinata groaned as her back was leaning against a tree. Her entire body felt numb and ache traveling through her limbs. For the last few hours, Naruto was lashing out with the puppet, using Taiyuken strike. Well, a vaguely version of it. She realized the moment he noticed, and watch how she moved the puppet, got very familiar with her fighting stance, and her clan style. How you feeling, Naruto asked, as he poked her in the shoulder. For once, Hinata minded a small glare. It hurt, she said, groaning a bit. Yeah, a small bit of paralytic will do that, Naruto said. If it helps, I've been exactly where you are when I was testing this stuff. She couldn't complain as she knew that Naruto was the one that was always going above and beyond, and if he could do it, she should at least try. Well, look at it this way, you got some good training, right? Hinata couldn't disagree. Compared to striking a post, fighting something that was actually moving was a lot better. Somehow Kane, that Naruto called the human puppet, was faster, flexible than her. It was able to strike from some odd directions because it could bend his body in all sorts of ways. Even when she closed off one of the puppet points, Naruto flooded his chakra through his threads and simply opened it back rather easily, as Hinata was still shocked that he was able to, well, blind the chakra inside the puppet. As he told her that he got it from an old medical textbook, but that was just ingenious. As she asked him why he hadn't told others, he simply told her that Kane was incomplete and he hasn't fully finished to tell anyone yet. And he also said that he had to have a few secrets for the style that he was creating. And then he told her that it was secrets that he could only pass on to his family. And the way he looked at her, it made her head, well, short out. And she couldn't really think of any other thing to ask him right there, because she nearly passed out. Take off your shirt, said Naruto, snapping Hinata from her thoughts. Hinata's face became incredibly red, unable to speak. I needed to remove your top, said Naruto, as he was holding up a tub of paste. I need to apply the antidote, it only worked by absorption from the skin. Rubbed it on your back would be the best way, he said. Hinata struggled as her mind was unable to process taking off her shirt for Naruto to rub something on her. She would be topless in front of him while he rubbed her back. It was too much for her, as she passed out. Naruto was confused as he looked at her. He thought that she would have at least tried to remove her shirt before passing out. Seems he was overestimating her progress in that field. He placed the tub back in his pocket. It wasn't really an antidote, because the toxin in Hinata's body would, well, go away in a few hours. He shrugged before starting to leave the training ground. He has worked up quite a sweat, as he had learned a great deal amount from battling with Hinata today. And not to mention he learned something, because he controlled Kin so well, with the timing, precision of his threads. One day he could probably control her with simply one thread. That means he could probably use 10 puppets at a time one day. That thought had excited him so much that Hinata managed to close off one of Kin's points while he was battling her. But still it was difficult to work out for his other puppets. But still, he'd have to come up with plans. And he also needs something, a secret weapon, that others wouldn't be prepared for. Something to get through that sand defense as well. He was snapped from his thought when a young boy decided to spray him with some water. As the boy stood there laughing, Naruto attached a thread to the hose and pulled it towards him, as he placed his finger on top of the hose, leaving out some of the part, allowing a small part to let out, as it released a heavier stream that smashed right into the kid, tumbling him over. He found that rather amusing as he looked at the tumbling kid, as he just had his finger over the top of the hose and the water was highly pressurized. A smile came on Naruto's face as he rushed home something. Inspiration was hitting him a lot. But guys, will be ending this episode right here. For the next part, if you not to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications stay posted. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.